Oh, goodness. Welcome, everybody, to the 112th episode of the Fact Is podcast. We're your hosts, Nate Moses.
And I'm Ryan Mays.
Oh, welcome, everyone. We are going to have a fantastic episode tonight. Oh, wow. I love that face. Go ahead.
I forgot my hat.
Oh, no. You have been doing the hat every night.
Stu.
Come on.
Stu.
Hey, that's a good one, too, because we just got
Stu.
done listening to that episode.
Do it for the
gram.
Do it for the gram.
Fieldcraft Survival.
Woo!
I love it. Just got done listening to that episode on the Rogan podcast. Dude, that was actually really cool how it flew across the screen. Got done listening to that Rogan podcast with the CEO of Fieldcraft Survival, whose name literally is blanking on me. Mike Lover,
Jared
thank you.
Fieldcraft?
We just talked about it earlier. Jesus. But anyways, and for those of you who don't know, you actually need to look up that story because it's incredible how the U.S. government can absolutely just mark you as a terrorist, a domestic terrorist, and it just goes through and ruins your entire business.
Life.
Yeah, but anyways, let's jump straight into the articles today. We do have kind of a condensed episode, so we're going to have to make sure we get the facts out there. But of course, we want you all to participate, so please make sure you all still talk to us as we go through this episode and make sure that you comment and say anything you feel you need to say. Dean, hello. Love you.
Hey, before we get going,
Please.
LeBron James is the GOAT.
LeBron
The
James
GOAT.
did
The
take
GOAT.
the scoring title. That is
The
our news of the day. Let's talk about the State of the Union as it erupts as Biden and GOP trade barbs and Michael Jordan is the GOAT. A 10th State of the Union address on
Nothing wrong with
Tuesday.
silver, MJ. Nothing wrong with silver.
On Tuesday was punctuated by subtle swipes at the GOP by President Biden and raucous disruptions by Republican lawmakers. Why it matters. So it underscores the tense relationship between Biden and Republican lawmakers as Washington kicks off 2 years of divided control and stares down potential crises on the debt ceiling and government funding. Biden's assertion that some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset prompted a raucous uproar, including audible heckling and boos from Republicans seated in the chamber. Marjorie Taylor Greene said, "You lie and you're a liar." Biden's statements on entitlements morphed into a virtual call and response with Republicans as he insisted, "I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I'm not even saying it's a significant portion, but it's being proposed by some." So we can go through blah, 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 blah. But let's actually jump straight into the facts because this is what's going to interest me the most.
Fact check.
We are going to fact check everything Biden said at the State of the Union.
Fact check.
Job growth. Biden said he created more jobs. He created more jobs created in 2 years than any president has ever created in 4 years. The raw number is accurate. However, Biden left out the fact that the job growth was sparked by post-COVID-19 pandemic recovery that started under former President Donald Trump and followed large-scale COVID-19 pandemic job losses, which makes sense. Everybody lost their job during the pandemic, a lot of cuts, blah, blah, blah. And then by, after post-pandemic, all these jobs are going to spurt out of nowhere. That makes sense. Biden said his administration has cut the deficit by more than $1.7 trillion, the largest deficit reduction in American history. However, expiring emergency pandemic spending accounted for much of that after the debt jumped to record highs amid trillions in pandemic stimulus and spending packages. So right now, everything is going towards COVID. Inflation. Biden said that inflation has fallen every month in the last 6 months while take-home pay has gone up. This is true when looking at a year-over-year inflation growth rates, but not month-over-month. Medicare and Social Security. Biden said some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. The proposal he referred to does not mention this, but does propose making the program subject to renewal every 5 years and requiring Congress to pass them again. How the media covered it. So sources across the spectrum fact-checked Biden's address. Some center-right-rated sources framed Biden's Medicare claim as false. Some left-rated moved to add context to a claim instead of questioning it. So from the right, 6 claims from 2023 Biden Union address. From the left, fact-checking. And then from the center, fact-checking the State of the Union. Love it. So, there it is. I mean, so he wasn't too terribly off, but also COVID bumped like all of his numbers.
I was in a room, and because I was in that room, the other people that were in the room made a ton of money. If I would have not been in the room, those people still would have made a ton of money. But because I was in the room,
they made a ton of money.
They made a ton of money.
That's the credit he's giving himself.
Basically.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, he's not necessarily wrong, but he had everything going for him when he got in because you were coming out of a pre-pandemic huge catastrophe, economy shut down, the whole world shut down, essentially. And then you come out into this blossoming flower of an economy. I mean...
Well, and the other thing is Trump even said it when he was leaving office. If the next administration just sticks with the schedule, things should go very, very well. End quote.
Yeah. I mean...
And if they would have stuck with the schedule, things would have probably gone better than what they were going.
Right.
You got to think about when he first took office. On the first day, he eliminated 10,000 jobs in the energy sector. He destroyed any chances that he had for pipeline growth. And, talk about environmental safety and stuff like that. I completely understand. Excuse me. You have to take some of that stuff into consideration, but until we get a cleaner energy source, until we can harness the power of the sun, fusion energy, things like that, let's go with what we've got and not make it stupid expensive for everybody.
Right.
I think that some of Biden's moves when he first got into office are why we are experiencing such high inflation numbers right now. Was that last stimulus package that he passed month 2 of being president, was that necessary? I don't think it was. It was what, $1.7 trillion or something like
ridiculous.
That? 1.6 trillion of unnecessary spending. Did it boost for a little bit? Yeah, I'm sure it did. When you pump 1.6 or $1.7 trillion into an economy, things are going to run red hot, which is then the cause for inflation.
I will say, though, the inflation has fallen every month for the last 6 months, and while take-home pay has gone up. So they didn't say anything about the take-home pay, but the truth to inflation going up year over year. I took one out of your book.
Zoom tight.
Except you coughed, but
I didn't hear a bless you.
Interrupted myself.
Yeah,
thank you. But the year after year is impressive. The month after month, of course, we knew, month over month was horrible. But year over year is, where they say you need to compare to see like the overall of the the big picture of inflation.
Yeah, but
and
right
where
now
it goes.
you also have to go by month to month because year over year, inflation looks great right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you look at what it was last year at this time, inflation was through the roof. So inflation now, it's come down 2%. We're at negative 2% inflation. Like, come on.
But gas prices still won't go down. I don't understand that.
They
went down for a little bit, then just skyrocketed back up overnight.
That's because he dumped the reserve right before Christmas or right before the midterms to try to gain votes. Oh, look, I'm doing really good. Gas prices have come down.
That's right. Right before the midterms, they did a lot of things to try to...
the reserve. Yeah. Emptied it. Trump spent 4 years of building up the reserves, and then he goes and dumps it literally in 2 months.
I guess whatever you can do to try to lessen the price of oil. It still didn't go down, really.
Whatever, man. You know what you could do to lessen the price of oil? Let us use American oil. Wouldn't that... that's a little taboo.
But doesn't that make sense? The pipeline.
That's why it doesn't make sense.
The biggest thing with the pipeline, I believe, was mostly due to not being. It wasn't it something about reservations and them trying to preserve reservations. At least that was one of the big arguments at one point.
And I completely understand that, and the environmental effects of a pipeline and stuff like that. I get it. But then why did they go and blow up? Whatever the Russian pipeline was.
Actually, we were just talking about that too. So apparently
30 million tons of methane gas leaking into the Baltic Sea?
Yeah, I believe so a journalist just came out blaming the US for that.
The lady, I can't remember her name. Sorry. I'm completely drawing a blank.
You're good.
Basically just took credit for it.
Yeah. So
What
that's
is it, the Nord
definitely
Stream? Nord Stream 2.
Nord Stream, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
they blew that up. So much for the environmental hazards.
Well, real quick, we'll touch up on Dean's comment and jump to the next article. But did Biden create jobs or just fill jobs that were vacant due to the pandemic? And that's exactly what we were discussing. That's exactly what that was. So
I think yes is the best.
So
I'm
just
sure
the best
Biden
answer.
has
So
created.
overall, what's the State of the Union?
Well, it could
mean,
be
I would-
better. It could
yeah,
be worse.
yeah.
I guess it's not terrible.
we're okay. We're just hanging out.
I guess.
I give it a solid 7.
I don't even know if I give it. I give it like a 5.2. It's a
5.2.
little better than not bad.
6.3.
I'll meet you at 5.7.
Deal. All right, cool. Now let's go on to the next topic. If you all have anything to talk about with the State of the Union, please feel free to intervene there as well. But I guess honestly, we just need to stop becoming so polarized and start loving each other. But that's never going to happen either.
Hugs, not drugs.
But let's talk about how China is not wanting to give us hugs. They're wanting to give us giant balloons that are overlooking our entire landscape. And apparently,
That wasn't China.
who was that?
It was a gender reveal. Things are getting way out of hand.
So let's talk about this spy balloon. The spy balloon was part of so it just came out today, was part of a larger Chinese military surveillance program. So new intelligence suggests that Chinese spy balloon that flew over the continental United States last week was part of a larger global surveillance program conducted by the Chinese military. So key quotes, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken stated the United States was not the only target of this broader program, which has violated the sovereignty of countries across 5 continents. The Washington Post quoted an anonymous official stating, "What the Chinese have done is taken an unbelievably old technology and basically married it with modern communications and observation capabilities." NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said that we have to be vigilant, adding we need to be aware of the constant risk of Chinese intelligence and then step up to do what we got to protect ourselves. So that's interesting. I've wondered the balloon. So let's talk about the balloon real quick and talk about how it kind of doesn't make sense when you have satellites. I mean, you have Google Maps, you have all this modern technology. What is the balloon really being used for? And so there's 2-part question here. Number one, what was it truly being used for? Was it actually landscaping and, mapping out our country or multiple other countries? And then number 2, was it the right decision to wait until it got over the ocean to blow it up or take it out, whatever you want to call it?
So to answer the first part of your question, I think that it was doing something along those lines. What it was doing that was different from what you could get from a satellite,
Right.
Is beyond me, unless Chinese satellite capability is not what they're saying.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a
there's that.
possibility.
And then part 2 of that, yes, I do believe that it was safest to blow it up over the Atlantic. Because what if there was a dirty bomb in there? What if there was a chemical agent in there? What if there was something that could have spread? What if there was an EMP?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things. I think having it blow up over the ocean, I think is probably the best call in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I actually am on you with this one, especially for the second part of this question. I 100% thought it was good to destroy it over the ocean because my biggest thought was immediately that it was some sort of chemical gas or something crazy.
Why would you blow it up over Montana, which is very sparsely populated?
Right, and I've heard that argument, but at the same time, would you want to even
risk it?
Because you don't know what's going on.
The risk?
I don't know.
You want to risk it for the biscuit?
Because the last time China let anything escape, it came out of the Wuhan lab. Oh, crap.
Bro, you're gonna get a shutdown.
I'm gonna get a shutdown.
Here, I have a question for you.
Okay, go ahead, real quick.
If it was racist for Donald Trump to call it the China virus,
I know.
Is it racist to call this the Chinese spy balloon?
No, because it was conducted out of China. Oh, I see where you're going there. That's interesting. Let's go back to Dean. So he said, okay, the balloon was a big deal, sure, but how many other ways does China spy on us? And then Ryan, appreciate you being out of here, or being here with us today. He says TikTok. Well, of course, TikTok. That is the ultimate way they grab all of our information, right?
Oh, yeah.
Also, how does the balloon get into U.S. airspace and make it to Montana before it's noticed or at least reported on? That's a great question.
That I actually saw an answer to that question. The Canadian airspace knew about it and notified the U.S. before, but they didn't have the capability to take it down.
Oh, interesting. Or they didn't want to take it down.
No, they didn't have, because it was flying at 80,000 feet. They didn't have an aircraft capable of getting up there to it.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
And I don't think any surface-to-air missiles are within that range. You're talking that's like 20 miles.
Right.
Up, straight up.
So Dean comes, and this is actually where we have some differences with us, Ryan. So Dean comes in and says COVID round 2 would have been in there. That's funny. Wendy and Ryan both say it was the wrong call to wait. Waiting for it to come across the country and things like that, not the best. Again, the only thing that I could imagine is anything that could have harmed people. And granted, yes, I understand that Montana is like one of the most least populated states in the entire United States. I get it. But to put any citizens at risk, because let's flip the situation. Let's just say we would have taken out the balloon. Let's say that it would have infected or hurt or killed a lot of people through whether it's a pathogen or whatever. Would you have been as quick to not blame Biden immediately for taking it out of the sky and saying, oh my God, look at what he did to our people?
Anthrax now is spreading through the country.
Anthrax is now spreading through the country. There's, I've started watching this new show, The Last of Us, which I highly recommend, by the way. If you haven't played the video games, it's great. But
with your shameless plugs.
But there's like it talks about like a fungus that there's could have been anything out there, right?
There's
that
so
could
much.
have infected
where
people.
Where it was located
and
where it was coming across the country, it was in the jet stream. So if there was a chemical agent in there, that's now getting spread massively because of the jet stream.
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated though, right? Because either way, I mean, the blame or the doing the right thing, you would have been blamed or again celebrated either way. Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to say.
And again, what surveillance is that balloon gonna give China that the satellites haven't already given them?
Right.
So at
that's point, the other thing that confuses me. So like, what are they really gaining out of it?
Then you already know where the silos are. You already know where the mountains are. You already know the terrain of the country. Like, at that point, what is the balloon doing for you other than causing a ruckus?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I don't understand.
And there's too much risk involved to let that thing blow up over land and potentially contaminate, millions of people.
Right.
I think it was the best situation. I don't think that... Now, had it been an EMP bomb and it took out our grid, I'd be saying a very different tune today.
See, that's what I'm saying.
That's not what happened. And they were obviously very closely monitoring what was going on with it.
Right.
So I just, I don't know. I think taking it out
Ryan said it best. He said, "Damned if you do, damned if you don't." And
basically.
So I mean, it was. He's chiming in, said, "I agree, not taking it out over land, but couldn't we have gotten it on the other coast?"
That was over Russian and Canadian airspace.
Oh, so
which we are not allowed to go into.
Canada could have given us permission, right?
They could have, but they didn't.
Right. Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's interesting too. The Last of Us does slap. I'm sorry, shameless plug, but yeah, that is a great show.
Another plug? Come on.
Great show. Sorry.
OBJ, the GOAT.
And then damned. And then damned if you do, damned if you don't. So yeah, I mean, like I said, that's a tough situation. I do think it was the right call, but at the same time, there's a team up there in Washington that I would like to say has our best interest. I would like to say has our best interest and was making the decisions that were
go to sleep at night.
That was.
Did you just lay your head down on that pillow thinking those generals got my best interest?
I'd stop.
They're gonna take care of me.
Stuart, any takes on that one? No. Cool. But yeah, that one's tough. So again, I just don't understand what they were going to gain out of what they already have with satellite technology.
I think it was just a Kansas City shuffle. What did they do behind the scenes? while that balloon's going overhead, are they marching people into Canada? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, obviously that just drew all of our attention for the last week. What happened in the last week involving China
That we haven't
that we
noticed.
don't know about?
Yeah. So that's a great question also because, you know, one big distraction. And then Ryan, where's that team at?
What team are you talking about?
The team of people with our best interests.
Oh. Well, I don't know where they're at, but I do know that they have a theme song, and it goes, America, yeah,
Oh,
coming
my
again
goodness.
to save the month day now.
Oh, my Lord. All right, let's jump forward.
Freedom is the only way.
I love that movie. All right. Google unveils ChatGPT rival Bard. AI search plans in battle with Microsoft. Great. Google owner Alphabet on Monday said it will launch a chatbot service and more artificial intelligence for its search engine as well as developers. An answer to Microsoft Corp's in their new rivalry to lead a new wave of computing. Microsoft, meanwhile, said it planned its own AI reveal for Tuesday. Is anybody else just like scared of AI? Because I kind of am, but
I'm more along the mindset of beam me up, Scotty.
if we're lucky.
If you can't beat them, join them. You know what I mean? Like, plug me in.
Plug me in, man.
All I ask is that when you bring me back, I come back as a car that can transform into a robot. Call me Optimus. I am Optimus Prime.
Oh my Lord. You crack me up. The cascade of news reflects how Silicon Valley is anticipating massive change from so-called generative AI technology that can create prose or other content on command and free up white-collar workers' time. So the ascent of ChatGPT and chatbot from Microsoft-backed OpenAI that could disrupt how consumers search for information has been one of the biggest challenges in Google to recent memory. In a blog post, Alphabet chief executive Sundar Pichai, thank you, said his company is opening a conversational AI service called Bard to test users for feedback, followed by a public release in the coming weeks. He also said Google plans to add AI features to its search engine that synthesize material for complex queries. I always call them queries, but like apparently people call them queues and queries. Like whether learning guitar or piano is easier.
With those people much longer, Nate.
That's what I said. Currently, Google presents text and exists elsewhere on the web for questions where the answer is clear. Google's update for search, the timing of which did not disclose, reflects how the company is bolstering its service while Microsoft is doing the same for Bing, embedding OpenAI's capabilities in it. Yeah, so AI. I don't know how to feel about it, man. AI is definitely interesting. I haven't used this ChatGPT or GPT yet, whatever it is.
Really?
Have you used it? You said you have used it, right?
Dude,
Yeah.
dope.
Is it actually really good?
Awesome.
Answers everything like that. I kind of got to try it now.
Oh,
So
dude,
what do
I'm
you do?
pulling it
Just
up right now.
type it into your search bar and try it.
Dude, I'm in.
ChatGPT. This is interesting.
New chat. Okay. So,
Because this was created by Microsoft, correct?
no, I think ChatGPT was actually an Elon Musk project.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Here. Okay. Perfect.
Or no, yeah, it's Microsoft's
So
ChatGPT.
I'm in the ChatGPT right now. My account with them.
Okay.
And here are all the notes on Fusion.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm glad we brought that up. Ask a question real quick.
Okay. How does nuclear fusion work? Okay. Too broad?
No. How does nuclear work?
This is going to be interesting. I'm excited for this. See, we get to test it live right here on the stream, y'all.
Please don't copyright us. Nuclear fusion is the process by which two or more atomic nuclei come together to form a heavier nucleus. This typically occurs at extremely high temperatures and pressures, such as those found in the cores of stars. In order for fusion to occur, the positively charged atomic nuclei must overcome their repulsive force to get close enough for the strong nuclear force to bind them together. This can be achieved by heating the nuclei to high temperatures, causing them to move rapidly and collide with enough force to overcome the repulsion. When the nuclei collide, they merge and form a heavier nucleus. In the process of some of the mass is converted into energy. According to Einstein's famous equation, E equals mc squared, this energy is what powers the sun and stars. The most commonly studied fusion reaction involves the isotopes of hydrogen known as deuterium and tritium. When they fuse, they form a helium nucleus.
Time. I have a question.
Don't interrupt me when
I'm sorry.
I'm on a roll.
Quick question.
What's up?
Does it show multiple answers, or does it just show you that one answer?
So it shows you that one
That's
answer,
what I'm
but you can do a
wondering about.
regenerate response. So you can ask for
Oh.
it said to you in different ways. So like, here's another question. Explain nuclear fusion to me like I am
5 years old. There you go.
Do, 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 do. No, but it's really cool. Like, I asked it to write me
Like you're a
to
4-year-old.
build a trading strategy based on the last 50 years of the S&P 500.
Okay.
And it, said there's many ways to build a trading strategy based on the S&P 500, but here's one possible approach. 1, collect data on the S&P 500 index for the last 50 years. This data should include daily prices of the index. 2, perform a technical analysis to identify data trends and patterns that can be used in making trading decisions. They may involve calculating moving averages, identifying support and resistance levels, and looking for chart patterns such as head and shoulder flags. And it goes down 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
So like it literally outlined, hey, this is a strategy you could use to.
So would you
Trade
say
based on the-
say that it's much better than Google? Is this something you use in replace of Google?
Oh yeah,
Interesting.
because it's conversational.
Right.
Like it's awesome.
Interesting. So this is something I might have to try out because I've never known it. I mean, again, I'm just a little nervous as to where AI is going to take us as a future in this country, but it could be beneficial and it could help us all.
I've got the answer to explain nuclear fusion to me like I'm 5.
Okay, let's hear that.
Sure. Nuclear fusion is like when two toys stick together to make a new bigger toy. Just like how toys stick together, the tiny things inside atoms can also stick together. These tiny things are called protons, and they have a positive charge, just like magnets. When you have two magnets that have the same charge, they push away from each other and don't stick. But if you heat up the magnets, they start moving faster and can bump into each other. When they bump into each other, they can stick together and become one bigger magnet.
That's incredible. That is really cool.
Isn't that cool?
That is really cool. I will
That's
say
so
that's
cool.
that's impressive technology right there. So, I will definitely have to give that a shot. Everybody, like I said, the only thing that concerns me with AI is, I mean, of course, I think like futuristic, like it starts to develop its own thinking and it's able to, iRobot. I mean, come on now, iRobot's creepy. What happens when we depend on AI more than we do people, specifically in the workforce or in education? Dean asked.
Oh man,
That is a great question.
I asked
That's-
this thing so many wild.
Ooh, what do you think about that? Dean's question.
He
He said, "What happens when we depend on AI more than we do people, specifically in the workforce or in education?
we get smarter.
But do we get more socially awkward than we are now? Or
Socially, yeah, we go down the drain.
yeah,
Intelligently, we get far superior
that's interesting.
because machine learning can learn so much faster than a human being.
I mean, yeah, it's just natural
So,
because you can
When
create
the processing
computing power.
catches up, like AI is going to outthink us 1,000,000 times to 1.
It already
if not
does.
more.
It already does.
So yeah, no, and from an intelligence perspective, we go to Mars and then we colonize the entire galaxy. I mean, like that's what happens.
If we learn how to use it, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Beam me up, Scotty. Let's go.
Maybe I'm
I
scared.
want to go see Andromeda. Let's see.
Yeah, let's do it.
You know what I mean? But also beam my kids up so they can come with me. 'cause
Ooh, that's another good question. Do we get smarter or do we just become more dependent on technology to lead us?
yes.
Because there is arguments that like those in ancient civilizations were actually much, much smarter than what we are today because they learned how to do these things.
I'm not arguing that fact at
Yeah,
all. But
yeah.
let me ask you a question: who's smarter, the person who sits down and learns how to build the wheel, or the person who puts a spot in their head, plugs a chip in, and now has infinite knowledge?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Because yes, I see where you're going with that, Dean, about you like the idea of AI, but also think that it can hinder critical thinking. I think you're thinking about this in the wrong context. When it gets to the point where we can download artificial intelligence into our actual brains, we become godlike figures. Because you have the capabilities of machine learning meshed with our biological brain, which is the most massive computing power that we've ever seen.
I don't think that'll happen in our lifetime or even our grandchildren.
Elon Musk's already working on it.
I don't know, dude. That's a
He's
lot.
already working on it.
Here's the problem. We already can't keep up with cell phones. We already can't
He's already working on
comprehend or understand the idea of that.
It's already happening.
Oh.
So here's the thing.
That's creepy then.
Is it? I mean, you gotta look at, if you're thinking from a biological sense of how do we as humans like exist biologically moving forward, yes, it gets creepy. But if you think from natural evolution perspectives, right? What doesn't evolve dies.
Right.
This is humanity evolving. I mean, for all intensive purposes, that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
No, Wendy, I'm not saying...
taking away. So this would be again scientific and completely taking away the religious aspect. It would be,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's how is there limitations on what a
Wendy-
religion can do with a private company. Those are good questions. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
Wendy just came on here and said, which is satanic. We are not God.
Right.
I agree with you. We're not God. We are children of God if you follow religion.
Right.
And we are, but God made us in his image, is what the good book also says. So if we are made in his image, that means that we have the capacity for way more than what we're doing currently.
Right.
So is AI a product of... Oh man, I'm getting real philosophical here.
Real philosophical.
So is AI a product of, like you're saying, is it a satanic product? Or is it a product that God has given us? God is giving us knowledge.
That's a great question.
Because, I mean, you're talking like, or is this the new apple? Is this the new fruit of knowledge?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, are we not supposed to bite this apple?
Yeah. And see, that's the questions that everybody asks. Because it's again, when you try to separate like religion from technology or religion from, politics, it gets dicey for some people, and I can understand that. But like you said, I mean, if somebody's able to do it, they're gonna do it, and they're absolutely going to take advantage of that technology, and they will do everything they can to better it. And I just see that, because honestly, we need to get to a point where humanity can survive, because right now, the way we're going, we're not going to. We are going to end up hurting each other way more, and the human race could easily become extinct right now, even if we felt like it. If everybody just felt like pushing the big red button, we'd easily become extinct.
Well, let me ask you a question. What happens when we get so smart that good and evil no longer exists? Because you're thinking on a purely logical sense.
Goodness, this is some deep philosophical talk here.
That's what the capabilities of machine learning are.
Right.
So when you get into that, when you start looking at it from that aspect, greed, sense of self, the 7 deadly sins go away.
Right.
Because you're not thinking as an emotional being anymore. Now you're thinking as pure intelligence.
So then what is the difference between machine and human?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's where it's headed.
Yeah.
It may not be in our lifetime, or it may be right at the end of our lifetime, and I really hope it is. So beam me up. But it's, I mean, and I see where Wendy's commenting. She's saying absolutely not possible. But what we're seeing with how machine learning works, it absolutely is going to be possible. Whether you want it to be or not, it's coming.
Right.
It's kind of like watching the meteor. Like, oh, that's going to hit us.
Don't Look Up. Love that movie. Love that movie.
Gosh, that doesn't look good.
But yeah, so we'll keep track of this and just where AI is heading towards, and I would love to even talk about what Elon's doing now. I would love to venture into looking that up
I mean,
a little bit.
it's in such raw stages right now, but like literally what he's doing is he's programming, or he's figuring out a way to program a chip implant into somebody's brainstem to monitor their bodily functions. Like if your heart isn't going, or if your appendix isn't working, or if your spinal fluid is leaking, or anything like that. It's like a systems check, basically, is what he's trying to do right now.
Right.
But if he gets that in place and it works and it functions properly, why wouldn't you be able to just start downloading AI into your brain?
Interesting thoughts and interesting process. We'll see where it picks up to. But let's finish out this episode with a beautiful video provided to us about nuclear fusion, because we are going to be learning again, like you were talking about last episode, what nuclear energy and what fusion energy can do. So we're going to hear from the National Security, we're going to hear, from the NNSA Deputy Administrator for the Defense Program, Dr. Marv Adams.
This was the shortest clip I could find on it that gave a pretty good explanation.
That's fine. It's only 7 minutes. That's not too long. And then we'll wrap up the end of this episode. Go ahead.
Thank you, Administrator Ruby. A paraphrasal of Abraham Lincoln strikes me as fitting here. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did at the National Ignition Facility. So let's recap. A team at Lawrence Livermore National Lab, National Ignition Facility, made the following happen. There's a tiny cylinder here at the end of this that you probably can't see. It's about so tall and this wide. Inside that was a small spherical capsule about half the diameter of a BB. 192 laser beams entered from the two ends of the cylinder and struck the inner wall. They didn't strike the capsule, they struck the inner wall of this cylinder and deposited energy, and that happened in less time than it takes light to move 10 feet. So it's kind of fast. X-rays from the wall impinged on the spherical capsule. Fusion fuel in the capsule got squeezed. Fusion reactions started. This had all happened before, 100 times before. But last week, for the first time, they designed this experiment so that the fusion fuel stayed hot enough, dense enough, and round enough for long enough that it ignited, and it produced more energies than the lasers had deposited. About 2 megajoules in, about 3 megajoules out, a gain of 1.5. The energy production took less time than it takes light to travel 1 inch. Kind of fast. So this is pretty cool. I have a special message to listeners who want to work on exciting, challenging, and important problems. We're hiring. So, fusion is an essential process in modern nuclear weapons, and fusion also has the potential for abundant clean energy. As you have heard, and we'll hear more, the breakthrough at NIF does have ramifications for clean energy. More immediately, this achievement will advance our national security in at least 3 ways. First, it will lead to laboratory experiments that help NNSA defense programs continue to maintain confidence in our deterrent without nuclear explosive testing. Second, it underpins the credibility of our deterrent by demonstrating world-leading expertise in weapons-relevant technologies. That is, we know what we're doing. Third, continuing to assure our allies that we know what we're doing and continuing to avoid testing will advance our non-proliferation goals, also increasing our national security. The achievement we celebrate today illustrates that big, important accomplishments often take longer and require more effort than originally thought, and that these accomplishments are often more than worth that time and effort that they took. With that, I would like to welcome my friend and colleague, Dr. Kim Budell, the director of Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, to speak about her laboratory's achievements.
Madam Secretary, Dr. Prabhakar, Administrator Ruby, and Deputy Administrator Adams, thank you for your remarks today and for your support. This is a historic achievement for the team at Livermore, our collaborators in academia and labs in the US and abroad, our industry partners, the fusion community writ large, and the many supporters and stakeholders in the National Nuclear Security Administration, the Department of Energy, and in Congress, who've ensured we could reach this moment, even when the going was tough. Over the past 60 years, thousands of people have contributed to this endeavor, and it took real vision to get us here. Building the National Ignition Facility was an enormous scientific and engineering challenge. I like Dr. Prabhakar's emphasis on the importance of bringing those two together. In the end, after all that work, the laser has exceeded its performance goals, opened whole new areas of high energy density science to exploration, and delivered the data we need to keep our nuclear deterrent safe, secure, and effective. Our pursuit of fusion ignition over the past decade at NIF was an incredibly ambitious technical goal. Many said it was not possible. The laser wasn't energetic enough. The targets would never be precise enough. Our modeling and simulation tools were just not up to the task of this complex physics. Progress has taken time, but last August, when we achieved a then record yield of 1.35 megajoules, putting us at the threshold of ignition, many took notice. And last week, our pre-shot predictions, improved by machine learning and the wealth of data we've collected, indicated that we had a better than 50% chance of exceeding target gain of 1. 60 years ago, when John Knuckles and his team proposed that lasers could be used to produce fusion ignition in the laboratory, it was beyond audacious. The laser had just been invented and was far from the mature tool we know today. But this is really what national labs are for: tackling the most difficult scientific challenges head-on, learning from the inevitable setbacks, and building toward the next idea. Lawrence Livermore has been at the center of the ICF community across these many decades, and ICF has been a centerpiece of our lab. Indeed, people often say that LLNL stands for lasers, lasers, nothing but lasers. But I think our motto sums up our approach nicely: science and technology on a mission. This achievement opens up new scientific realms for us to explore and advances our capabilities for our national security missions. It demonstrates the power of US leadership in science and technology and shows what we're capable of as a nation. And as the Secretary mentioned, breakthroughs like this one have generated tremendous excitement in the fusion community and a great deal of private sector investment in fusion energy. But this is only possible due to the long-term commitment of public investment in fusion science. The science and technology challenges on the path to fusion energy are daunting, but making the seemingly impossible possible is when we're at our very best. Ignition is a first step, a truly monumental one that sets the stage for a transformational decade in high energy density science and fusion research, and I cannot wait to see where it takes us. Thank you.
Nuclear fusion.
It's here, ladies and gentlemen.
It's here, and it's going to be the next energy source for everything, I would almost say.
Yeah, because the fuel source is basically unlimited. It's found in salt water.
Yeah.
So it's literally everywhere.
That's incredible. And it's what, 96% of our world?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
No, it's like 76% of the world.
Is it? I thought it was like 96.
Maybe it is 96. I don't know. Look that up. I know that the maps are way off. Like the land continents are not near. Like Africa is actually much larger.
Right.
Is it in the 90s?
Hold on. Salt water percentage of Earth. That'll load. 96%. Over 96%.
Ooh.
Yeah. So the vast majority of water on Earth's surface, over 96%, is saline water in the oceans.
No, you asked the wrong question. What percentage of the Earth is covered in water?
Oh, I said salt water percentage on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of Earth water? All right. 71% of.
See, I told you.
But 96% of that 71% salt water.
60% of the time, it works
Every time.
every time.
I love it. All right, let's get out of here. You know, that was an incredible episode. A lot of conversation, a lot of a lot of things that we're going to be keeping track of going forward in this world, of course, on top of AI with ChatGPT and see how that is. Keeping on top of everything going on with Ukraine and everything else around this world, because it is just getting crazier every day, gentlemen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they say.
Dean says we need to talk more about AI. So maybe next week we have an episode about AI. And I would love, does anybody know anyone who works with AI? Because I would love to bring them on here to understand it more.
I don't know anybody, but maybe somebody in the crowd knows.
See, this is the cool thing about, like, and we will get there, but like, this is the cool thing with Rogan is he brings on experts and he brings on these really cool people who understand how to talk about this
for
stuff.
that, man.
That is the strive.
I would love to have a fusion scientist sit down with us.
Oh my gosh.
And actually go through like what's going on.
That would be
I
incredible.
understand like that they fired a laser at atoms and then charged them up so much, got them so hot that they turned into plasma, that the things fused, and then they collided them at very, very fast speeds.
Right.
And created a combustion that put out more energy than it took to get to that point. I get that. I understand that. Now break it down.
Now break it down.
I want to know all of it.
Not as a 5-year-old, but yeah, break it down. And Dean is an expert in not being an expert. What an incredible expertise.
Before he said that, he did say he enjoyed the podcast.
Thank you,
As
Dean.
usual, fellas. Good job.
We appreciate that. It was a fantastic episode. We really enjoyed this one. This was
Dean, I'm gonna buy you a hat that says Old Faithful.
this was the 112th episode. So we are getting up there. We are continuing to come every week, talk together, and
Come together
to just
right
to
now.
continue to strive through this. So thank you to everybody who stopped by. Ryan, new familiar face. Welcome. Thank you again for coming by.
New familiar face? That is
Yeah.
such a contradictory statement.
I know it is, but I know him and like he's awesome. But like he was here for a while and now he's back.
All right, Stu.
Yeah.
Stu.
Oh yeah. Take the hat back. The beautiful Fieldcraft Survival. Yeah, so Wendy, Dean, Ryan, thank you all so much for coming by for the 112th episode. Again, that was just like clean the way y'all did that transition. We're gonna
When you have two experts, that's what happens.
So with all that being
See what I did
said,
there?
with the 112th episode, thank you all so much for coming by. Please make sure you are following all of our socials. That is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the Royal Rumble.
The Royal Rumble!
YouTube and multiple other places. So please make sure you're following all of our socials. We really appreciate all the support. Not to mention we have a Patreon now for anybody who wants to be nice and give us $5 every month so we can buy some really cool people to be on the podcast.
I think in another life I was a ring announcer.
like a Buffett, one of the Buffett brothers.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages.
You know, you still have that potential. You're a very young man. You are a very young man.
I love it. Young dirty.
Wrapping this up, this was the 112th episode of The Fact Is. Please make sure you all join us for the 113th next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Anything else, gentlemen?
Dave. I thought you were gonna fall, but you did not.
I did not
you
fall.
pulled it together.
I pulled it together.
You brought it back.
Took
Took us out. I'm in awe of you every time.
Anything else, gorgeous?
No, that's it.
No? Good over there, Mr. Jamie?
Oh, wait. I do have one other thing.
Oh, yes. Let's hear it.
LBJ the GOAT.
Oh, my God. Here we go. Thank you all so much for coming for the 112th episode of The Fact Is podcast. We're your hosts, Nate Moses.
And I'm Ryan Mays.
And we will see you all next week for the 113th episode of The Fact Is. See y'all then.